Hello, 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 YouTube! My name is rhianaB, and welcome back to another episode of my RuPaul Drag Race All-Stars review. So makeup theme for this week is Andy Warhol, but I kind of went a different direction a little bit, and I decided to do a more pop art theme, so that's why I have a bunch of red dots all over my face, and then I've outlined most of my face. I'm praying to God that my eyebrow cover isn't gonna crack, so I may not emote much this episode. That's the reason why. So, and also I'm wearing a New York City sweatshirt that's got a upside down MTV. Not like he was really involved much with MTV, but it's my New York sweater. But enough about my look. Let's go ahead and dive into the episode. So we are noticing that Shangela is still playing a heavily strategic game, which again I don't know if I really agree with it all that much because, you know, in games like Survivor, Big Brother, in some cases Amazing Race, it makes sense to have a strategic gameplay, but in RuPaul Drag Race, I don't know if I quite, maybe it's because I'm not used to it, but I just don't really like it all that much, and I do think Shangela's playing a little bit too hard. And also the discussion of how intense the competition is going to be. Because we see Ben, again, struggling with the whole process of getting rid of other queens, and it's been a big burden on her since she's been in the top 2 every single week since the beginning. So I understand it, the pressure on her, but I feel like it's getting a little too much in her head. So moving on to the challenges, we actually had a mini challenge for once. We haven't had a mini challenge since the reading challenge in the very first episode. This one was a Andy Warhol pop art photo shoot. So they had to basically dress in half drag, well not half drag, but like, you know, 15-minute drag, so quick drag, and had to pose for a made-up RuPaul who looked a lot like Andy Warhol, so I thought that was really cute. And Aja ends up winning. She ends up winning free hamburgers from Hamburger Mary's and $2,000. And then the Maxi Challenge, which I talked about last week, was the Andy Warhol Ball. So that's, again, the reason why I'm wearing the makeup that I'm wearing today. So it is a creative challenge and a sewing challenge, design, whatever you want to call it. And the first look is to walk down the runway in a tin can, inspired by Warhol's famous Campbell's Soup paintings. And also they had to design a look that would be perfect fitting for Studio 54. So basically it's a 70s look. So they're going from 60s to 70s when Warhol was probably the biggest person creatively in the world. And I know that's saying something, but I mean, he's up there. And we saw a couple of little things happening throughout the episode. First off, redemption for Trixie after last week, her being in the bottom 3 and just having that little meltdown on the main stage. She had a lot to prove, and she thought that this would be the challenge for her to win because she does like to sew, she can sew, and also she's great at branding. I mean, actually, I should go get it. Hold on a second. I mean, branding. Hello. We also had Aja, who had a little out of the can concept. I know I'm going to be doing puns. But she was going for a sweet and sugary personality type of a thing, which, I mean, she is a sweet person, but I don't think of those traits when I think of Aja. I think fierce. I think kawaii. I think just beautiful. I don't see sweet and sugary. That's just not my perception of her. So that was a little bit of a little out there type of a concept. And then BB gets into the soup thing, and she like really thinks about like what her soup would be made out of and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, girl, I know it's a challenge and you want to think about the details, but do you really need to think about what your soup would be and what it would taste like? I mean, is that really that important when you need to think about branding yourself? So I mean, I don't know. And also, I can't believe this, and I mean, I wrote this in bold on my notes. I was shocked that BB doesn't know how to freaking sew. Being the veteran queen that she is, she doesn't know how to freaking sew, and that she had to go to Aja to teach her how to do stuff or do stuff for her? I'm like, bitch, you are the first original winner of RuPaul Drag Race. How do you not know how to freaking sew? It's just, it blew my mind, and I'm like, oh, I just, See, I can understand if it's a younger queen who doesn't really know how to sew. You should have at least some training before you come to RuPaul Drag Race and know how to at least hand stitch or do some stuff. But you are a veteran queen from the very first season. I expect you to at least know how to hand stitch or how to use a glue gun. Be like Ben, use a glue stick. It's just like, I don't know, it just frustrated me that we found out she didn't know how to freaking sew. Also, speaking of not sewing, we also find out that Shangela still can't sew or design, which we've known since season 2 and 3. She had some stuff done, but she also doesn't quite know how to choose fabrics, which is a thing in and of itself, if any of you have ever watched Project Runway. And yeah, we kind of knew from the get-go that Shangela was going to be having some problems. So the next day of the elimination, we had Aja being super, super confident in both of her looks. And I gotta admit, her runway look, what it looked like on the mannequin, looked fabulous. But she did seem a little overconfident, and Kennedy was not having it. Part 1. And then when they were doing their makeup, Ben starts talking about the elimination process yet again, and that is Kennedy not having it, number 2. I'm getting a little sick and tired of Kennedy. And I've always had this issue with Kennedy. She seems like her way is the way that really matters, if that makes any sense. And I don't want to say arrogant or whatever, but I feel like she doesn't quite take in everything around her, at least in a competition sense, because she's really in her own head. She follows what she wants to do, and she doesn't always like to look to other things, and she doesn't always see a fault with it. And ever since season 7, that's been one of my main critiques of Kennedy, is like, she doesn't seem to understand that there's other ways of doing things or different types of things. It's just, it does get annoying after a while. And then, again, the thing of, and I've seen this in a couple of other reviews talking about this episode, was that, would you rather play like Shangela and Kennedy tend to do, which is very strategic, or do you want to go with Ben and look at track record, look at, how bad you did in that particular challenge based off judges' critiques, that type of a thing? I mean, what would you choose? I mean, personally, in this situation, I would pick the Ben side, quote unquote, and be like, look at track record, who's done the worst, who had the worst critiques. That's what I would go off of. I wouldn't be super strategic about it unless they were in closer to the bottom, and I thought they did deserve to go home. So that's my take on the whole thing. So okay, so moving on to runway. So the first part of the challenge was the soup, or the, what was it, soup extravaganza? I can't remember. Anyway, moving on, we had Aja come first with sugar tits. Excuse my language, but I mean, it's on the can, so you already knew what it was going to be. I just didn't think it represented Aja at all. I just did not. I mean, it's cute, but I don't see Aja. I mean, it's a pair of parted lips with ice cream and chocolate. And of course she's got her colored wig on, which did match the can, and I did appreciate that aesthetic, but it just did not scream Aja at all. So, I mean, it was cute, so I did give her middle of the road for the can. And then her Studio 54 look, I absolutely loved. I did agree with the judges that the hair was maybe a little, it wasn't 70s. The way I would have fixed it, I would have taken out the bump and I would have taken out the headband. If it were just like straight, clean, Cher style hair, it would have worked perfectly. But the outfit itself, I thought was absolutely gorgeous and sheer, something I would probably see at Studio 54. So I did give Aja a top for her Studio 54 look. Then next we had Shangela, and right away, the can I loved. It's so Shangela. Hula hoops, I think. Hula hoops. Yeah, Shangy Angie's caffeinated hula hoops. I really thought that was cute, very on brand for Shangela, and I know people are saying that they're kind of tired of the whole, hallelujah and the corn thing. You can't deny that is Shangela. That is her brand, and that's what this part of the challenge was all about. It was about branding yourself on a tin can for soup. It's what it was, and I thought it was really cute. But then we ran into an issue with the runway look. I mean, hun, that's a boot. That's just a hardcore no. This was the worst look of the runway by far. First off, you've got cheap fringe that looks like stuff you picked up at Party City. I will say that pretty much this whole outfit looked like it was made from stuff from Party City, even to the golden discs on her chest, which were way too big, the golden disc in the hair, which blocked her face. The only thing about the look I liked, her makeup, when you did see it, it did look fierce, it did look beat, and then the hair, it was very like Diana Ross, very 70s big afro. That's the only thing I can find redeeming about this look. Everything else was just a hot mess, so I definitely gave this this was the worst look of the night for me. Next up, we had Trixie, and she had the, what was it, Pip Abysmal? I'm praying to God I say that right. But if I did say that correctly, or if you understand what I'm saying, perfect name. It's so like, because I love the fact that Trixie like very dark humor. That's one of the reasons I love her so much, because she's very dark. I mean, she talked about her side effects for her soup. I mean, who names their soup this and then gives side effects for the reasons why you don't drink it? So it's like, or eat it, I should say. I just thought it was so funny, and of course the image of her on the front with her eyes just bursting out with light, it was just so funny. The makeup was adorable, the hair was adorable, she played it up. I loved it. And then her runway look was absolutely fabulous. I loved it. It was so Trixie with the pink and the sparkle, the glasses. I mean, the hair and the makeup, everything was perfection. This is something I would see at Studio 54. It's so cute. I mean, if I had the body that she makes, I would so wear this look. So Trixie, definitely a top on all rounds. Next, we move on to Kennedy, and this was, and I'm trying to read it on my phone, Grandma Kennedy's Pot Licka Juice, or I hope I said that correctly. Okay, again, I agree with the judges. Why would you play yourself off as an older person? I mean, you're not the youngest queen here, but do you really have to age yourself by like, what, 30 or 40 years? I just don't understand why she had to play a grandma unless she was going for the thing of, oh, it's like grandma's homemade soup, or, you know, soup my grandma would make. I just didn't see it. The story narrative made no sense at all. And that also goes for her Studio 54 look. The whole thing with like her saying like she got called up by Michelle Obama at 1 p.m. and, you know, Tim Gunn handing her $20 saying she looked cheap. I'm like, it's a little convoluted, and I feel like she's always had this issue. She can never form good narratives, and I don't understand why that is. As far as the Studio 54 look is concerned, I mean, does it look Studio 54? Yes. Is it what I like about it? Is it good? I don't think so. I was so distracted by that stupid ass belt. That belt was so bad. It was such a distraction. If she had just had a single band, like, or maybe just like a metallic single belt around her waist, I would not have had I would have had much of an issue with this look. But that belt drove me nuts. I didn't quite understand the sleeve. I felt like it was too long, and this was not a good look. So on both the can and the Studio 54 look, I gave her middle of the road because, I mean, there were some parts of it that were semi-redeeming, but it was not the best look of the night. Next up, we had BB, who had Zaza. And I mean, there's an old silent film that starred Gloria Swanson, who's a big icon during the silent film days, and it's a film called Zaza, and ever since I ever heard that word, I love the word Zaza, so I love the fact that the soup's called Zaza, because I love the name. I like it. I feel like it's very, like, Warhol. Well, I don't know, because Warhol never really did common colors in his paintings. If you look at his Marilyn Monroe piece, if you look at the Campbell soup, it's different colors. It's bright, different colors. I find it a little interesting she went all red. I mean, it's kind of aesthetically appeasing that it is all red, but, I feel like I could have wished it a little bit more design on that aspect. But, I mean, I love the fact on the back of the can it said Cameroon, because when we think Cameroon, we think BB. So, I did like it. And then her runway, again, it's just like, does it look 70s and does it look Studio 54? Yes. Did I wish she could have done something a little bit different with the whole idea? Yes, because I didn't really like that her neck and her chest was like so cluttered, because she already has fringe and shiny on her chest throughout the dress, and then of course she's got the necklaces, which I just felt were too much. Also probably the hair being on the shoulder probably didn't help either, but when I saw the hair, I thought, oh, she looks like Donna Summers. Again, it's not bad. Not the worst of the night, but it's just still not there for me. So I put her along with Kennedy as middle of the road for the Studio 54 look, but the can I did like. And then finally, we have Miss Ben de la Creme, who had creme de la creme, all-purpose soup. I don't quite understand what all-purpose soup really means, but I loved the design, although I will say I thought the face on the bowl on the can, it looked a little bit like Bianca Del Rio, which I found a little interesting. But overall, I thought it was really cute. Of course, she played it up with her facial expressions. It was very terminally delightful, which is very on brand for Ben. So I did like the can. However, my hair keeps getting caught on my face. I was not very pleased with her Studio 54 look. She did hot glue this, and it kind of shows she didn't have a lot of time to really do anything else. It's literally like a bathing suit, and although it did look Studio 54, I mean, with the fur and the hair and the jewels, the shoes, I just did not like the fact that it was just a bathing suit, although I guarantee that there was a couple people at Studio 54 who wore something close to a bathing suit. But granted, I wasn't alive during that time, and I've only seen a couple pictures, so I can't really tell you that for sure. I mean, it had the vibe, but execution left a lot to be desired. So I did give her runway look middle of the road, but I did like her can, and I gave that a top. So our tops of the week were Trixie, BB, and Ben. Well, Ben was a little bit in the iffier side. And then we had Aja, Shangela, and Kennedy, who again was like toward the bottom, but she had a couple redeeming features because they liked her runway look. And then our winners were Trixie and BB. Now, I mean, I don't know if I quite agree with the fact that BB was the winner. I would personally, I don't know, because her and Ben were kind of in the same area. Like, their cans were great. I liked their cans, but their runways were just not there, and I think it was like nitpicking to the smallest degree. So BB ends up being part of the top two, and then our bottom two were Aja and Shangela, which in both cases I understand why they were on the bottom. So basically, Aja did get criticized, like I mentioned earlier, for using too many references. Like, she used 60s and 70s rather than just sticking to 70s, and they kind of said, well, because you're young, you don't quite understand the references, yada, yada, yada. I don't think that's a thing you could say. In some cases, yes, and maybe in Aja's it was, but I mean, there's a lot of younger people. I mean, look at Violet Chachki. She is, I think, younger, if not closer to the same age as Aja, and yet she gets references like that. She can do 20s, she can do 40s, she can do 60s. I mean, she can do a lot of references, and it works for her. So I don't think that's the excuse, but if that's what it was for Aja, then it makes sense. And then I did find it interesting in the judging how the judges praised BB's look when all of us know that Aja made most of that outfit. So, and that's the other thing, I'm like, I don't know if she really deserved to be in the top two. But again, the judges don't know that Aja made it unless they say so to them. So, I mean, I mean, what can you do about that? And then we have the issue of who's going to go home. Now, the thing is, the difficult part is that both Aja and Shangela have won challenges, and they have done well in the past. It's just that tonight they did slip up. And that's the problem. If you're just looking at track record, alone, both of them are pretty even because they both have won, they both have had lower points, and they both have been safe before. So, I mean, how do you pick? I mean, if I were in the situation, I would be really like, what am I going to choose? I mean, they're both pretty much on the same level. But of course, you do have Shangela continuing to play the strategic game and like keep making the damn Game of Thrones references, which I don't understand any of them because I don't watch Game of Thrones. But it was very like, it's just she's playing it really hard, and I understand she wants to stay, but there's a difference between playing a strategic hard game and just playing and fighting for a chance to stay. There's a slight difference there. I mean, I review Survivor, so obviously I should know that. And I just feel like she's playing, again, like I said earlier, she's playing too hard of a strategic game in a game that I don't think is going to do her really any favors, or it's not going to really help her much. And then we had a little moment with Aja kind of flipping 180 and like being sort of optimistic to being like just downright terrified that she could go home after she had her talk with BB. And BB, I will say, I found it a little rude that you kept interrupting Aja, and if that was all editing, then it played up on that. But if you were interrupting her most of the time, then I find a little bit of problems with that. I mean, I had the same issue with Milk when she did that to Trixie in one of the challenges, so I mean. And then a quick little note, we did have a thing where BB was talking to Ben before she started talking to the other girls, and Ben was appearing to act differently because she wasn't on the top. She was just safe, and she felt the relief of not having to have the burden of picking a queen to go home. I can't help but think that there's something that's going to happen in the next episode that's going to really flip everything on its head, and it's going to involve Ben. I don't want it to be true, and I don't want anything to leave me like that, but I can't help but get that feeling that something is going to happen that I'm not going to be entirely happy with. Alright, so let's go ahead and watch my reaction to the lip sync.
Okay, it's Diana Ross. BB looks like Diana Ross. Lip sync on point for Miss Trixie. Oh! Okay, they're both giving it. They're both giving it. All right. I feel like BB's being a little more subtle. Oh! Ah! Yes, get it, Miss Trixie!
So, yes, BB won the lip sync, and I didn't agree. I thought Trixie overall should have won the lip sync. I thought she did the better job of the two, but again, I'm not Ru, I don't pick. So she ends up winning, and she does send Aja home. And it's really sad because I've really grown to love Aja, and I think a lot of people can agree that they've really loved Aja this season because she's grown so much, she's matured, and she's just stood out as an amazing queen. So I was very sad to see her go, although I did understand why she had to go home. And then the preview for next week. We're in for a roller coaster yet again because it is finally time for the Revenge episode. And whatever that means, I mean, we have to wait and see. I am hearing rumors that it's going to be a Spice Girls challenge, which will be very interesting. I don't know, I'm a little curious. And I was curious at the very end because they've been playing on this whole Handmaid's Tale theory. I mean, they've been playing up with this whole Handmaid's Tale thing, which I don't understand because I don't watch the show. I didn't quite understand what it meant. But what was interesting was that only 3 girls were on the main stage to come back into the show. I don't know if that's how they're going to be doing it, but I don't know, I don't understand, because my prediction is that it's Chi-Chi, Aja, and Thorgy. And I took a screenshot of the 3 of them standing there, and I really looked, and obviously the one was Chi-Chi, because she's black and she has tattoos on her arm. And then the other person had tattoos on their arm, and it wasn't Morgan, because Morgan doesn't have that many tattoos on her arm, but Aja does, so that's obviously Aja. And then there's another girl who had no tattoos on her arm, and as far as I'm aware of, it was either Milk or Thorgy, but yet the girl standing there wasn't taller, so it's gonna be Thorgy. So it leaves me with the question, where the hell is Morgan and Milk? Or are they gonna even be a part of this? And if that's not the case, then why? I mean, I don't know what's going on with Morgan. I could understand maybe why Milk didn't show up because she did have a rough season and da-da-da-da. just don't know. I want them all to come back. I want them all to come back like last season. I don't want just 3 of them to show up. So I'm a little concerned on what that means. But I am excited because now we're finally going to have the revenge and we're really going to have a couple moments that are going to happen next episode. So we're going to have to wait and see for the drama. So there you guys go. That is my latest review of RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars. If you guys liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Leave me comments down below. What did you think of tonight's episode? Who do you think deserved to go home? Who do you think deserved to win? Just leave me those comments. I would love to read them. And if you want to see my future videos or videos I've already done, go ahead, hit subscribe, and hit the little bell icon so you can be notified when my videos come out. That's all I have for you guys today, and until the next video, bye! Mwah.